Today in the crypto space, we see the market coming down. Bitcoin at about 66,000, down approximately 4.5%, and Ethereum down to about $3,200 and down 5%. The rest of the crypto space, the altcoins are deep in the red. We have some good retracements across the market. The question is, should we be buying the dip? In today's video, I want to talk about the general market. I want to use Bitcoin as a leading indicator, but more importantly, I want to use Ethereum as an indication for potential altcoin season. Is it about to happen, or are we going to continue coming to the downside and enjoy those fire sales? So you know what, let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome on the channel. We talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunities. Whether we go up or down, bearish or bullish, it doesn't matter. All we want to do is stay one step ahead of the market so that we can capitalize on any of the volatility. And if you appreciate the strategy, subscribe to the channel, click the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, including the live streams at 7:30 Eastern, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Guys, if you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description below. Better yet, join that Discord, guys. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is it's absolutely free. All right, guys, let's continue. Let's see what's going on here. Honestly, a lot of fear in the market lately. We're seeing a bit of a dip here, of course, but it's only 6%. So big picture, what we should be looking at is the fact is that Bitcoin did retrace. It is down 3.5%. We do see that we have a bit of volume into the market as the market is coming down. That means that the market is consensus. We are seeing a sell-off, clearly a sell-off right now. So the volume that we're getting is negative volume. The total market cap is coming down to 2.6 trillion, right? So down about $1 trillion or just under that. So not bad in the sense that we're not completely dumping, because reality is Bitcoin is up significantly from its bottom. So I'm not too fearful here. However, I could expect a continuation to the downside if Bitcoin does break critical levels. And of course, we'll talk about Bitcoin. I want to focus on Ethereum today just a little bit, because also Ethereum is one of those players in the market that can be used as a leading indicator for the altcoin market. But at the end of the day, also, guys, both Bitcoin and Ethereum having that relationship is basically looking for dominance. Who is going to be dominating the market in the next little while? Is it Bitcoin or Ethereum? Or are we going to get a sell-off that is market wide all throughout the market and be able to buy those dips at lower levels? This is the game here, guys, that we're going to be looking for. The only thing that I would be suggesting is be very patient. Be very, 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 very patient, because at the end of the day, we don't know where the bottom is going to land. All we have is some nice levels that we got to watch out for. We can use momentum. As a momentum trader myself, I do put a lot of value into momentum. However, those horizontals, looking for those support levels first is top priority. So let's see where Bitcoin leads us in this dip. We can see Solana coming down. We have BNB coming down. We have a lot of these altcoins coming down, guys. I'm not going to get into the details of all of these because they look like a cookie cutter, type of scenario where they're all dipping down in those retracements. Yeah, we got a few anomalies. Like Litecoin is looking pretty good today. Not bad. 8.5%, looking pretty strong, given the fact that the market is bleeding out. It's doing okay. It's still within range type of thing, and not bad overall. But if we keep on going down, you can see Filecoin, Cosmos, what else? We have Mantle going sideways, at least 2% to the upside, but it's holding nice and steady. That is definitely a sign of strength, guys. Let's keep that in mind as the market is coming down. It's neutralizing all this bearish sentiment that we got here. Pretty strong here to see MNT kind of go sideways, but again, keep on going down. We have a lot of dips. We have Maker, ready to roll over. It does look like it wants to really come down here. The hang time in this price action is really, really strong. You can see that render down below that $10 mark, down 13%. We can see some double-digit dips here in the last 7 days. So these are opportunities, no doubt. 100% they're opportunities, but it all depends on when you bought the last dip, right? And it all depends if you have any, skin in the game at the current moment. If you're looking for your first entries, yeah, these dips aren't bad. They're not too bad. Like, I'm not saying that it can't come down further. What I'm saying is that you're not buying tops, obviously, especially on some, like even Caspa that has been retracing for the last little while. And there are many others that have been retracing for the last little bit, giving us that opportunity. Thorchain Rune looks pretty good, down 20%. Guys, I'm going to put that on that watch list because I like Thorchain. You guys know that I appreciate Thorchain Rune. But if we do keep on coming down, this is one of the projects that I wouldn't mind getting in. Last time I talked about Thorchain, the last time I talked about the Graph, they both ran really hard. These are two projects that really do get that momentum going and then start melting faces. Now, I do like all projects, like even Phantom dipping down to these lower levels, down 18%, guys. After the nice run and it broke out really strong, and now all of a sudden a 20% dip almost, right? Jupiter's still looking okay, you know, in a retracement, no doubt, but it's still up for the week, 20%. And the list goes on, guys. You can see lots of retracement. The thing is at this moment, what we should be doing is coming up with a plan. I wouldn't necessarily be buying dips heavily at this current moment. I would be coming up with your bullish plan, getting into an offensive strategy, in the sense that once it reaches the level that you are interested in, number one, what is that level? And then number two, what kind of position are you going to build? And how are you going to build it? What's your plan? What's your strategy? What type of conditions are you waiting for in order to get into a bullish stance, to get offensive? At this current moment, we should have been defensive, taking profits, taking 10% off the top, off of all those major gainers, off of all the rallies, on those confirmations, taking 10% off the top. Guys, I've been saying that in the last while, that it's always a good idea to take profit, trail up those stop losses, and get defensive on your gains for days like today. This is the day where you can now deploy some of that capital. All right, guys, I know you're here to talk about charts. Let's begin looking at Bitcoin. Let's see what's going on here with Bitcoin. Guys, we analyzed Bitcoin a while back, and we came up with this idea. The idea was that we're going to get into a consolidation, and I've outlined the idea using spider lines because it was just an idea, but this idea is coming to fruition. We can see that we got rejected with that lower high. It's just a confirmation high. A lower high is what the bears are looking for to give them a bit of confidence to enter shorts, and then all of a sudden you can see how the market did react to the downside and did break down. Now let's look at this in a little bit more detail, because I do feel like ultimately there's a little bit more to be said. We are still in the chop zone here on Bitcoin on the RSI. Okay, guys, so we can see that the RSI is still in the 50% mark on the RSI, which means that we could go sideways for a little bit longer. I want to highlight when we entered that chop zone, right around here. Okay, we entered the chop zone right around this zone, and we are still in the chop zone. So why couldn't we stay more choppy here in the chop zone? Right, we could. And we've held the chop zone as support in the past, right around here. We came down even a little lower and then bounced right high back to overbought conditions as we did in the past here on the daily. Okay, so this is something to consider. Now, what I want to do is quickly shift to the weekly. Okay, let's start off on the weekly again and kind of see what's happening here. You know, there's no divergence here. We're still looking really nice here. The weekly's still okay. The MACD, what is the MACD looking like? EMAs are facing up. Green histogram bars are still here. We're not even getting our first red little histogram bar. And in fact, we could get a few drives of bearish divergence here still to get the confirmation that we're rolling over. I think the weekly is still okay, but we have to keep in mind that within the week, the weekly time frame, we get a lot of daily candles. So what are we looking at? Again, back to the daily. Are we still going to be in the chop zone? Now, if we stay in the chop zone, I do feel like we're going to consolidate. Now, the risk of getting into a bullish long at this current moment is that we don't stay in the chop zone, and in fact, we break down to oversold conditions on the RSI. If we get oversold, just think about how low we could go. My opinion is, obviously, I think that we could come down to about $54,000. For me, that would be the bearish price target to see the oversold conditions on the RSI. Obviously, I would like to see it get oversold first and then make my decision, because we could get oversold and still hold about 61,000 as support, no doubt. Previous low type of area of resistance, support, no problem, right? So let's see what happens when we get oversold, and if we get oversold on the RSI. So if you plan on getting into a long position, the daily is not really giving you a big edge, because the edge is suggesting at the current moment that we gain support in the chop zone right here at the 50% of the RSI. And if it does happen, it will potentially get a bounce to the upside in this consolidation. Now, if the consolidations ends up being a symmetrical triangle, or even a ascending triangle, which right now it doesn't look like it's going to be ascending, it could be descending at this point. You know, maybe descending triangles tend to have a bearish stance, where statistically speaking they should break down bearish, but symmetrical ones have a bullish continuation probability, right? So that's probably what we should be looking at. If we do get that consolidation, that we can put a stop loss underneath this thick white line and say, you know what, we'll be buying the dips into here, expecting a bullish breakout. But at least if we can get our entries as low as possible to this thick white line, our invalidation is right there with that stop loss to cut us off, just in case we do come down to about 52,000, something like that, right around this empty little gap that we got here that I'm keeping an eye on. So generally speaking, the daily is still okay in the sense that we're holding up in the chop zone. The MACD is looking bearish, EMAs are facing down, red histogram bars. You know, I feel like we could just chop around here for the next little while. In fact, we could get into a wake off distribution, and we could hang out here for a good while we see the market distribute. And usually wake off distributions end with a massive dump. So guys, we're still okay here in the sense that let's see what happens after we form a bottom. I'm curious to see what kind of bottom we create here, if it's actually going to make a lower low, or if we're going to make a higher low. Guys, if right now we made that lower high, which is not looking good, all we need is a lower low, and then the trend is your friend. We're coming down, guys, and that's the bearish confirmations that all the bears need to get this price oversold. Let's take a look at the 4-hour real quick, and then we'll jump into the Ethereum price to see what's going on there. You can see the double top. The double top is bearish in the sense that we made that confirmation high, the lower high, but the RSI is already oversold. This is where things start to get interesting here, guys. Now, we could stay oversold for a little longer in the sense that we can get into an extremes part of the oversold conditions, get all the way down here, which of course will bring the price a little further. We have some time to, you know, get some divergence, maybe some class A, class B, class C bullish divergence right into oversold conditions. The MACD not even getting an EMA cross just yet, or not even one green histogram bar at the current moment on the 4-hour. So we're not even getting any real confirmations here either that we're ready to get that bounce. So what am I doing here? I'm being patient. I'm not getting into any fresh longs on Bitcoin. I'm not getting into any fresh shorts on Bitcoin. In fact, I'm going to just keep an eye on Bitcoin and use it as a leading indicator for the next couple of days, because I feel like we should be bottoming out here very soon and getting some confirmations for a bounce. And then we can play the range, we can play the breakout, we can kind of look into other opportunities, because I feel like really it's the altcoin market that are going to give you the opportunities that you're looking for. Okay, guys, let's jump right into Ethereum. And speaking of altcoins, the heavyweight of all altcoins, Ethereum. What is going on here? You know, in the last little while, ETH did break down a little harder than Bitcoin, of course. The Bitcoin dominance, obviously, we'll talk about that tonight. The Bitcoin dominance did come down a little bit, giving us an indication that the altcoins at the current moment are outperforming Bitcoin, but not by a lot. Not by a lot. The reality is it's not that much. Look at what Ethereum looks like here on the weekly. The reality is, okay, fine. It does look bearish with this tweezer top type of pullback and the railroad track type of pullback, and we got a bearish engulfing candle. If we close this candle in the next 5 hours, 6 hours, it's not looking good. And then all of a sudden, you know, we do see that we're overbought, really overbought, and we're due for a bit of relief to the downside. The MACD EMAs crossing, not really, so we're still okay. I could expect at least a bit of divergence here before we roll over. There's no indication of divergence. All we did is get overbought. So who knows? What about if we do make another higher high on the price action and a lower high on the RSI? It could happen. You know, just get a nice impulse, a short squeeze, and then get that squeeze to the upside. Very, very possible. But guys, remember, this is the weekly. What happened in the weekly with Ethereum? Nothing really, to be honest. If you look at it, we basically got rejected here, which is an important rejection, of course, because we got these tops, and we come back down, maybe pick up some bullish bids at horizontal supports. But really, we didn't even touch previous highs yet, like Bitcoin did. And then we didn't even get into price discovery, like pretty much Bitcoin did. So are we a little bit lagging behind here on ETH? Of course we are. Now, is the sentiment on ETH bullish? It's not as bullish as it used to be, guys. Of course, we got a lot of competition within the layer 1 ecosystems that are coming out with low gas fees, trilemma, you know, focusing on that trilemma and providing those software solutions that we're all looking for, you know, get low gas fees and speed and all that good stuff. And all of a sudden, you know, Ethereum is not looking as great. The layer 2s, okay, fine. The layer 2s give Ethereum a little bit of utility and of course, you know, volume and all of that, but still Ethereum is not as grand as it used to be because there are a lot of other options. But nonetheless, guys, if Ethereum continues to pump to the upside, it may very likely catch up to Bitcoin. In fact, it may even outperform Bitcoin to the point that we see the Bitcoin dominance fall. And we will use this as an indication that we could get an altcoin season. And altcoin season, guys, we've been waiting. And I've been deploying capital into altcoins. I've been looking at altcoins that have been retracing to bottom levels and buying absolute bottoms on a lot of these altcoins, to the point that my entries haven't even been, tested at this current with this current dip. And that's the beauty behind buying low, absolute lows, and then rather than buying breakouts. It's because you buy lows, they're likely your entries might not get tested, and in fact you might form areas of support before they even get tested. So the weekly right now, guys, it's still okay, really. There's nothing really too scary about the weekly. But again, multiple daily candles within the weekly suggest that we could get oversold here. We're still in the chop zone, very similar like the Bitcoin prices. And we can see the Ethereum MACD is EMAs are facing down again, similar to like what Bitcoin is doing, not giving us any indication that the trend is starting to become bullish. In fact, it's entering the bearish control zone, and we see the EMAs facing down with red histogram bars. Not a good look for the trend. And the momentum is still in the chop zone right here in the 50. We could definitely hang out here a little longer, but if it gets oversold, guys, expect Ethereum to fall a little bit lower. Now, how low do we go, guys? The Ethereum and Bitcoin price don't offer too much confluence at these levels. The level that I kind of like to see support is at about $3,000. That's my first zone for potential support. And of course, I would wait for oversold conditions on the daily and wait for an EMA cross on the MACD. The next level would be all the way down here at about 2,300. If we are lucky enough to get down there, I would be buying some dips. Now, would I be buying Ethereum? Probably not. At this point, I'm looking into a lot of altcoins, because the longer this drags out, this Bitcoin Ethereum battle, let's say, that means that the altcoins are boiling over and they're ready for that altcoin season. So I'm not necessarily interested in buying dips on Ethereum. I think my Ethereum bags are quite heavy at the current moment, and given that how the sentiment is on ETH, I'd rather get into ETH competitors that are looking really strong. So again, 2 entries for me, 2 areas of interest for me, and of course this chart needs to be cleaned up. I'm going to get that tidied up very soon, but we can see that there's areas of weakness below, volume gaps that I'm interested in. But guys, I don't think we're going to be coming down here. This was when we were consolidating into the zone where I was like, okay, look, if we retrace, nice horizontal support, green arrow, buy the dip. If we came down further, buy more. And then I'm like, okay, we came up here, back test, green arrow, buy the dip. You see what I mean? So now it's like, are we actually going to get down to these levels? I don't think so, guys. I think that even if we came down to about 2,300, guys, that would be a fire sale on ETH. Altcoins would dump really hard. The market would be super fearful, and that would be our last opportunity to potentially get into the market on those prices before the bull run. So this is where we're at right now, getting into a fresh long with Ethereum. The risk is that you see the RSI get oversold and the MACD continues to the downside in the bearish control zone. If we get into the 4-hour, you can see that we're oversold already in the 4-hour. RSI is already in the oversold conditions. We're not getting much volume. We're not really at very interesting levels of horizontal support, just a little bit. Okay, we got a bit of a volume gap right here that could be respected, no doubt. We have a previous wick that could be respected. We kind of fell through this little empty gap before, and all of a sudden we got that reclamation of previous highs, and we're coming to test it again. So what's likely is maybe we come down to about 33,000, or we come down to about 32 again, and we buy that dip and we DCA it into the zone. What I see here is that this trade that you get into, if you get in on based on this indication of these horizontal support levels, have to be traded based on the 4-hour. So when the 4-hour gets overbought again and the 4-hour looks frothy, take a bit of profit on ETH, because it could be that we make a confirmation high, a lower high here, and then we finally roll over big picture, or we make another higher high with class A bearish divergence. Regardless, if you're going to enter on the 4-hour and the daily still showing you weakness, and the weekly still okay, but the daily showing you weakness, and you're getting in on the 4-hour, just understand that 4-hour move to the upside is going against the daily trend, or the daily momentum, or the daily sentiment. And that means that you got to enter on the 4-hour and you got to exit on the 4-hour. Guys, right now the market is a little bit fearful. I would be holding off with a bit of capital to deploy at lower levels and DCA nice and slowly, look for good horizontal supports. And of course, tonight we'll be talking about crypto news and price action. So if you want to talk about any projects that you have in mind, feel free to join the live stream. That is a great time and place to make those requests, and I'll put them in top priority. Guys, if you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description below. Feel free to join that Discord, guys. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. Take care, guys. Have a good one, and don't forget, buy the dip.